Well, this is the first TV show review I've done in a while. Hoping it doesn't suck. Hello everyone, Britton here, also known as Smoky Dude, and today I'm covering a TV show, and today the show I'm going to be covering is Over the Garden Wall from Cartoon Network. Well, since it's Halloween season, I thought it would be a good idea to cover Over the Garden Wall because it really captures that Halloween spirit very well. It also takes place on Halloween, but I digress on that point. I think it would be a great idea to talk about why I think this show is so freaking awesome, and I think that you guys should go see it. Now, this review might sound a little rambly. It's because it kind of is. I do have my bullet points here, but there's so much to talk about with the show, and in all honesty, I don't really know where to start. So, hopefully this video won't be so much of a review, much of a more why I appreciate this and why you should go watch it. And, I mean, if you do end up watching Over the Garden Wall based on this video, awesome. I am so glad to hear that. I think that's just wonderful. But all I'm saying is just watch this show. It is fantastic. I love it from beginning to end, and it's fantastic. I was actually going to watch this again for the Halloween season because that's what I do usually. I went on Max, looked for it, and for some ass-backwards reason, Max decided to take Over the Garden Wall off of the site, even though it's a freaking Cartoon Network show. It's ridiculous. I was looking forward to watching Over the Garden Wall. I was gonna watch it. I was really gonna watch it again, and then they took it off. It's unbelievable. I don't deserve this. I'm calling out Max right now. But I've already seen this show a few times, and hopefully I'm going to, like I said before, review, shill, hopefully get you guys to at least be interested in watching this show. If I do that with this video, I will be very glad, because this show is amazing and I love it a lot. Over the Garden Wall is one of those shows that just fires on all cylinders. It's one of those shows where just everything really comes together to create a whole. I mean, the animation, the voice acting, the atmosphere of the show, the storytelling, the music. Oh my gosh, the music and the characters are exceptional throughout this show. I mean, it's one of those shows where it really feels like everything came together in order to create this big, beautiful thing, and it's all coming together. It's all great and wonderful, and it's this magical journey from the beginning all the way to the end. And it feels from the beginning of the story that these creators knew where they were going to go with this story, and they knew where it was going to end. You know, I sometimes wonder if magic still exists in our world, because it almost seems like in this more jaded, cynical world we live in, it's almost like people just want to stamp out anything that is good or decent by pointing out just how fake or wrong or somehow disgusting this thing is, even though there are moments of genuine humanity in this world. But this show is one of those properties, like when I read Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is actually pretty neat, which is actually a pretty apt comparison to this show because they both deal with similar topics. But this show really shows me the magic of the world. This show genuinely feels magical. Like, when I get done watching this show, I want to get up off my feet, walk outside, and make the world a better place. And it really is, or maybe not make the world a better place, but walk out and just enjoy life and enjoy nature and enjoy all that stuff, because there's a lot of really great just imagery porn in this. It's just, oh man, it's so good. The animation in this is exquisite. I love the animation in this. It has this beautiful atmosphere. It's very fall based, which is why excuse me, why I think that this is not only a great Halloween show, but a great fall show in general, because it really captures that fall vibe, that fall feeling, if that makes sense. And I just love the imagery, and I love all the designs of the characters. They're all so distinct. They feel different from each other, and it's strange, but there's also a familiarity to it. I also love the colonial-inspired period pieces of the Unknown, because I have a fondness for colonial history. That's what my fantasy novel, Plague of Nightmares, was inspired by. So, of course, I'm intrigued by that. I love that kind of Grimm's fairy tale atmosphere in this story, and it's so beautiful. And the music, oh my gosh, I should just mention the music real quick. The music in this show is exquisite. I love it. I go back and listen to the soundtrack / score of Over the Garden Wall a lot of times during the year when I'm feeling kind of sad, or when I feel like in the mood for some music to get me in get me in the mood for fall or Halloween or what have you. Great. It's fantastic. I love it. I would also recommend, if you guys like cover stuff, Cricket Blue, this group on YouTube. I will link them down below. They did a cover of most, if not all, of the music from Over the Garden Wall, and they killed it. It's fantastic. I will link that down below if you guys want to go check that out. And the music in this is it's a work of art all on its own, and I love everything about this series, and it's just really good. But what makes this show really special to me is how A, it plays with your expectations, and B, how the characters grow throughout the story. One of the things about the show is that it's very much based on it definitely wears its influences on its sleeve. It's very much inspired by Fall Time, Grimm's fairy tales. You get that vibe, like Arthur Rackham, if you've ever heard of him. He was an illustrator He drew a lot of fantastical images. If you've ever read any of the Grimm fairy tale books, if you've seen if you've ever seen the covers of any of those books, then you probably know who Arthur Rackham is, because he probably was the one whose images made the majority of those covers. There's also references to Dante's Inferno in it. It's basically a take on Dante's Inferno, except they're not in hell. They're in a place called the Unknown, which is heavily hinted to be a sort of purgatory-like place that you go before you're technically dead. It's basically like a near-death experience, or at least that's my interpretation. But I don't want to spoil anything, because that would just... shush now. But I think what makes this show so good are the characters. And I really enjoy how the characters in this show grow, as I mentioned before. We have Wirt and Greg, who are basically the main characters of the story. They're half-brothers. Wirt's mom is Greg's mom, and Wirt has a lot of issues, and he's played by Elijah Wood from Lord of the Rings fame, and he's fantastic in this series. He really captures that teen angst very well. I think he's a fantastic actor, and he's really talented when it comes to being these kind of he's actually pretty good at playing like awkward teenager like characters, because he's I don't know, I guess he still has that kind of youthful feel to him. I mean, I know he was a child actor for a while, so maybe that helped a bit. But he's fantastic. I love the kid who plays Greg. I forget his name, and I apologize for that, because he's also fantastic. He really captures a lot of optimism. Now, while he doesn't really go through an arc like Wirt does, He definitely helps Wirt along in his arc. I would say that Wirt is probably the main character of the story because he's the one who grows the most as the story moves along. And we also have the Woodsman, who's played by Christopher Lloyd of Back to the Future fame. He's also a great character. He's gone through, you can tell he's gone through a lot of pain, but again, I won't comment on what happens because of spoilers. But he's a great character. He, again, kind of goes back to that subverting expectations thing, which I'll get into in a minute. We also see appearances from people like John Cleese of Monty Python fame, of course. He is fantastic in this. He's in one where he plays this businessman who's basically this just foppish, kind of wacky person. Very much out of a Monty Python sketch, and it's fantastic. I love it. And also, Tim Curry is in it, and I love the episode that he's in. I won't spoil what happens, but his episode is great. It's probably the creepiest episode of the series, and even though he tragically suffered a stroke, which basically has caused him to not act as much anymore because, he's basically in a wheelchair now, and he wasn't as vibrant as he used to be, he still is a fantastic actor. He's very good at what he does, and he still shows that he has it, even in this place where he's disadvantaged. But I'm really impressed with how this show takes us on this journey through 2 hours. You could sit down and watch this show in a day. Again, like I mentioned earlier, you could tell that the creators had when they were at the beginning, they knew where they were going to end it, and they just pitched it all to perfection. And it's great. But going on again to the second favorite part of this, what makes this special, is the expectations. Like I mentioned earlier, there's this world where it's almost like Grimm's fairy tale, but there's also kind of this almost old school Disney vibe to it, and there's also these very old animation techniques that are being used in this show. And I really love how it subverts your expectations. Again, I won't spoil. There are things like wicked witches and creepy cults, but they never are what you expect them to be, and that really keeps the show unpredictable. And I really enjoy how all of it comes together as the show comes along. And also the growth of the characters, particularly Wirt, as the series moves along. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. One of my favorite episodes is actually the 9th one, which is the second to last, the penultimate episode. Wonderful stuff, and it really shows, it gives you the context of what happens. Though again, I don't want to spoil anything. There's a lot of people who make fun of me or not a lot of people, but there are some people who kind of poke fun at me because I still watch animated stuff, because I love animated stuff, Batman the Animated Series and Over the Garden Wall and a bunch of other stuff I can mention. But it shows like Over the Garden Wall that really show to me what animation can do when it's not held back by, the idea that it's for kids, and it's not just for kids. Anybody, I think, could sit down and watch Over the Garden Wall and really appreciate it as a work of art. And it's also just perfect for the Halloween season, and I think it's a really beautiful series, and it's great. I really love it. And we're almost 14 minutes into this, so Over the Garden Wall really shows what animation can do in the right circumstances, and I don't even think I've even touched I don't think I've even touched the surface of it, of what makes this show so great. But I hopefully got you at least interested in watching this show. I think I'll stop this video here. But Over the Garden Wall is a fantastic show to watch during Halloween. It's spooky without being too disturbing. It's not it's something you can show your kids, though maybe I would wait till they're like 10 or something, because I don't know if a 5-year-old would jive well with this. But it's a fantastic series. I think it's one that people should watch, and yeah, that's really all I gotta say today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please check me out on Twitter. You can check me out on Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I do videos or no, I mean I do reviews that are probably more coherent than the ones you just heard right now. You can also find me on Discord. You can come talk to me on there. But aside from that, yeah, Over the Garden Wall. Go watch it.